Folks, the big news out of Atlanta involves the case of Fulton County DA Fani Willis and whether she or her lead prosecutor, Nathan Wade, can continue. Today, Judge Scott McAfee ruled that Fani Willis may remain on the case, but what has to happen, she or Nathan Wade must resign. Well, this is the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Wade resigns, allowing Fulton DA Willis to move ahead with Trump case. Now, in this particular decision, the judge makes it perfectly clear about the bad decision-making of a DA Fani Willis in terms of her decision to get involved with Nathan Wade and then to hire him to be a part of the team. Joining us right now, folks, from Atlanta is attorney J. Edward Shipp. Glad to have you on the show. Attorney Shipp, this is very simple, and I've said this repeatedly. And the judge basically makes the exact same decision. Fani Willis screwed up. She should not have had Nathan Wade on this case if she's going to be involved in a relationship with them. He ruled that it did not have an impact here, did not have an impact at all. Now, of course, in his letter, Wade said, "I'm proud of the work our team has accomplished in investigating, indicting, and litigating this case." But the judge had some stern words for the decision-making of DA Fani Willis. Your thoughts?
So, first off, thank you for having me, brother. Let's just go ahead and dive into it. The judge did say, yes, this was a bunch of bad decisions in which you made, DA Willis, and it's brought us to this point. But again, what I've always said is none of this prejudiced any of those defendants. And he made sure to let that be known, that none of this prejudiced any of you, even going as far as talking about the forensic misconduct situation, which they brought up, in which DA Willis talked about what she was going through at the church. So again, it just reaffirmed the fact that, like DA Willis said, she's not the one on trial here.
Right.
Those defendants are the one on trial there.
The problem here is, and I had a conversation with several people earlier today about this, and what I said is, if you just go back, the judge said, yes, there was no conflict of interest. Did she do anything illegal? Nope. And so we have all of that. The problem is, if you're DA Willis, you know how the stakes of this case. You know how major this is. And what you tell your entire team, I need everybody to be clean as a whistle. What you don't do is create the problem. So for 2 months now, we haven't discussed the case. We've discussed who paid for dinner. Do you drink wine? Did he have a door opener to your garage door? How many times he came by? With all of that. And so this is why this was a mistake on her part. If she doesn't put Wade on the team, none of this happens.
That's true. I would agree with you on that. And I would even concede the point that, this was an unforced error by the decisions that were made. But again, this has been Trump's whole thing, to delay, obstruct, deny.
Right, which is why you don't help them. You don't hand them a gun and then say, hey, here are the bullets too.
I would agree with you on that point. But again, this is an unprecedented thing. You haven't seen a president be charged and do the type of things that he has done.
And that's why you don't do it. That's why, that's what drives me crazy the most. Again, if you're sitting in Fani Willis' position, I'm telling you, you sit here and say, yo, I need everybody to be clean. Y'all can't pay no bills late. I need water bill up to date. You can't have no tax liens. Hey, if you married and you got a side piece, cut that off until after this sucker is over, because they're going to go after all of us. But you can't have the person in charge going, by the way, my man gonna be the lead prosecutor.
I think one of your previous guests made a good point in that she talked about how there was going to be opposition research done, and D.A. Willis probably wasn't used to this. I mean, who has ever heard of opposition research being done on a sitting DA for a case that they are trying?
Hey, bro, listen, I feel you. I understand your point, but I can't buy it. Because you already said it. No, first of all, you got to understand, I can't even use the word president in relation to his name. But no former occupant of the Oval Office has ever gone on trial. You know all eyes on you. You know, if you Fani Willis, you can't even drive fast. You just got to understand. And my problem is we're not even having this conversation. That initial decision wasn't made. Now, and here's the other deal, bro. When the motion was filed, that's when her and Wade should have got together and they were like, they know. They know. So what did they do? They fought it. Why are you fighting it? Y'all were together. Remember, they fought it.
Do the same thing. They were going to do the same thing regardless. If he would have left at that point, they still would have went through with the motion.
Well, but here's the deal, though. Remember, they fought the motion, and then the whole dramatic, she shows up, I'm ready to testify, and they're like, well, I guess we're not fighting the motion now. Okay, so to me, okay,
right.
Well, the moment they filed that motion, look, when she went to that church and didn't deny it, I was like, yeah, they been knocking the boots. And that's when she should have said, they know, I need you to step down. Now, and I think had that happened, you still would have had some stuff happen. I don't think it would have been this intense, but at that moment, you got to cut it off. You got to cut the cancer out the body, because at that moment, it can't spread. But they fought it. They fought it. Now, Matt, you shaking your head. All right, Matt, what's the problem?
I'll wait till my time, but I think she did the right thing. I don't think she should have immediately canned him, because that would be evidence of impropriety. I think fighting it was the right way to go, because the moment they cut him loose in relation to the motion being filed, then it's like, why did she cut him loose so quick? Because something must have been going wrong. So I think
But here's the deal, though. Where we at today is what it was going to be. Somebody had to go. This is where this is not a legal thing. This is where it became, Michael, a public relations thing. Now, understand now what has happened by the cascading effects of this decision. He's on motion file. You fight it. We go for 2 months. Congress now wants some documentation on what federal money is used. Now the state of Georgia has created this whole panel. Now all your business out, your dad is testifying. This is all the things that happened downstream because of that one decision. I fundamentally believe when that motion was dropped, that's when you have to go, yeah, I'm not about to sit here and I'm about to keep fighting and he's still going to be on it. No. He had to go.
Georgia was going to have that. I'm sorry.
Was that for me?
Go ahead, Michael.
I agree Fani Willis should have fought it. Now, it probably was going to end up that Nathan Wade was going to lead the team. But I agree she should have fought it. But the commission that the Georgia State Legislature created, if I remember correctly, that commission was formed before this lawsuit by Michael Roman was filed. Okay. Number one, about these improprieties. Number two, Judge McAfee, in his ruling, found that there was no, quote, actual conflict, end quote. Now, he did say there was the, quote, appearance of impropriety, end quote, but there was no actual conflict. All right. So, yes, in hindsight, the relationship should not have taken place after Nathan Wade joined the prosecution. But it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you fight something like this. You don't just acquiesce. You have to understand you're dealing with thugs. Okay, you're dealing with thugs who have no morals, who have no ethics. All right, so you've got to fight. Period.
Yeah, look, Niamey, you're going to fight it, but what you don't create your own problem. That's all I'm saying. You got to be smart and not create a problem where you give them something to attack you on.
And I will take this one step further, because this is a gendered conversation for sure. And as a woman in the workplace, whatever our workplaces are, I mean, most of us don't work on a stage as big as the one Fani Willis is on right now. You have to be above board. I mean, one of the things that we as women have to think about in the workplace is the respect that we're going to have from our subordinates and others in the workplace. And it's hard to maintain that if people know that you cross these kind of boundaries. I agree that she should have fought it. But the other thing in fighting it is now we have all of these details about her personal life and these lurid details that had nothing to do with the case. But like you said, Roland, now that's all we're talking about. We're not talking about the charges. We're not talking about what this conduct was that this man actually did. That's the crime here. And I think Fani Willis is old enough, quite frankly, to know better. Michael Cohen told us everything we needed to know about how Trump and his team operates and what their playbook is. It's always to find your dirty secrets and then expose you and use that to bend you to their will or some other such thing. So I don't know how D.A. Willis had no sensibility that this would happen. And it's not to suggest, right, that she didn't do her job well or that Nathan Wade didn't do his job well. But this was it was an unnecessary chink, right, in the armor of this office and in this prosecution. And it doesn't matter whether they win in court or not. Trump will always say, I was railroaded. This was illegitimate. And it will appear to some people that it is, not because on the merits, but because of her lack of, I don't want to say conduct, but just the lack of foresight here. It just seemed like a really short-sighted choice, because you could have resumed your relationship at some other point in time.
Yeah, and J. Edward, look, the decision that you're now confronted with is, okay, the judge has made its ruling. Wade has stepped down. Willis now continues. Now the question then becomes, okay, now you still have all the other stuff that's outside. Now you got to get the focus now back on the case. And I just think that this is a lesson for folks, especially when you're high-profile folks, to understand what the stakes are. I was talking earlier in a conversation, someone was like, hey, we should be rallying around Fani on this whole deal. And I told this person a story. I love the show Billions. And Condola Rashad, her character, wanted to run for office. And so what she then did was she goes out and they say, well, we got the guy for you. So he comes in and he has 2 envelopes. So J. Edward, he has 2 envelopes. He goes, so J. Edward, this is what he goes. He goes, this is the envelope that they are going to get on you. No. Then he goes, this is the envelope that I can only find on you. She's like, I need to know that one. Because when you run for office, you understand opposition research. And I just think anybody who's watching, pay attention. If you're going to be involved in a high-profile case, you got to be clean. You got to be, see, even Matt shaking his head like, okay, I mean, you got, when it's about to hit, and you're going to be in every paper, every network, it's going all around the world, whether you're a woman or a man, and damn sure you black, your shit got to be clean. J. Edward, final comment.
Final comments, man. I agree with you on that. She has definitely put herself in the limelight, and she should have had the foresight to, go ahead and make sure that everything was clean. But I always say we can't forget that this man was on the phone telling a Secretary of State, I need you to find the vote.
Right. And remember, the judge
it's guilt.
And the judge threw those charges out. Now do they go back and re-indict to have more specifics because the judge said they were not specific enough. And so that's really what we're left with. And so I just think, Matt, I'm gonna give you a final comment here. What drives me crazy is that all the focus was on these thugs, and folks were talking about, yo, Fani gonna get his ass. And now we all know her daddy and who they dating and all. That's not the stuff you want folk talking about when it comes to your legal case.
It's not a great look, but there are a couple things. First, once they made the accusation, if she acquiesces and says, I'm going to take him off the case, then that looks like an admission of guilt. I wouldn't tell a criminal defense client who's accused of something to do something that makes them look guilty. That's why I think strategically she had to fight it. Secondly, I think it's very obvious that the judge recognized the stakes here because it's uncommon for a county court judge like this to issue a 23-page opinion. He did that to make sure there was cover on the appellate side and to communicate what he saw in the case, because judges can't speak politically on things. But what I think is interesting about that, or can't speak out at all on things, what I think is interesting about that is he absolutely skewered her in this order, saying that there was, quote, an order of mendacity, which means odor of mendacity, which means he felt like people were lying. He said her testimony could not be taken at face value. So a lot of your points, I think, are valuable because she attacked her own credibility, not only through doing this, but through how she fought it. But strategically, if I were in her office, I would have counseled her to fight this, because the moment she acquiesces is the moment she looks like she's guilty of something. And I think that has an effect on her subsequent tenure, too, because now every case they're going to attack her saying she admitted to having done something wrong. So strategically, in this circumstance, I think this was the right play.
Hey, I agree. Don't put your man on the case. Then we ain't got no problem. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's just.
Deanna, you about to say something?
I was just to say, I mean, it's just that easy. I mean, you don't get your bread when you get your cheese. I mean, it's you know, it's real easy. Oh, Lord have mercy. We talking about all this other stuff and not these thugs. Jay Edward Ship, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, there's a 10-week online history course called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. I teach the class on Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our next classes are Saturday, March 9th, Saturday, March 16th, March 23rd, and March 30th. Okay, and then we have a few more classes after that. The class is on sale, $80, regularly $130. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch this anytime. So even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire class, okay? And we instead of 10 sessions, we're going to do at least 11, possibly 12. The course outline, the lesson plans for all 10 classes or 10 plus classes are laid out here. And I'll go through and update it periodically because we add a few additional subjects. But we take you through our history. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. So we deal with archaeological discovery that have come out in the last 10, 20. So we deal with Egypt on the Potomac and how the layout of Washington, D.C. is based upon ancient African principles coming out of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, meaning land of the blacks. We look at the African origins of Star Wars and the Assyrian drama. There's an excerpt of an interview that I did with Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, where we look at this information. We look at the Hannibal Barca and the Punic Wars, okay? And especially the Battle of Cannae, 216 BC. We look at Hannibal crossing the Alps, crossing the Pyrenees, 219 BC, but the Battle of Cannae, 216 BC. The Battle of Zama, 202 BC, where Hannibal Barca is defeated by Publius Cornelius Scipio. And Publius Cornelius Scipio takes the surname Africanus after he defeats Hannibal Barca at the Battle of Zama in 202 BC. Africa is not named after a Roman general. The Roman general took the surname Africanus after he defeated Hannibal Barca. And we know that Africanus is Latin, meaning belonging to Africa. It's Latin, meaning belonging to Africa. We look at the 800-year occupation of the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe. And this is going to bring Europe out of the Dark Ages. Okay. And we see the rise of Spanish conquest. We look at Christopher Columbus, and Columbus is essential to the expansion of the transatlantic slave trade and the exploitation of indigenous people and the exploitation of African people also. Okay. So we go through and look at this history chronologically. We also look at the fake Willie Lynch letter, 1712. Willie Lynch never historically existed. Wish we would just throw the Willie Lynch letter in the garbage can where it belongs. It's ahistorical. There are words in the Willie Lynch letter that didn't even exist in the early 1700s. Okay, the sentence structure, the syntax is not what they is not coming from England. That's a 20th century sentence structure, and their words from the 20th century, from the industrial and the automotive industry, things like that are in that letter. That was written about 1970 by Dr. Kwabena Ashanti, who's come out and admitted he wrote the Willie Lynch letter, and is Professor Manu Ampim, who I'll be interviewing later this month, who exposed Dr. Kwabena Ashanti as the author of the Willie Lynch letter. It's a fraud. Dr. Kwabena Ashanti meant well, but I think it's done more harm than good. Okay, so you can register for that course at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, let's continue here. And I posted the information here in the thread of the broadcast as well. You can also email us through the website if you have any questions. Right here where it says contact the African History Network, you can email us through the website right there. You can email us also, okay? And if you want to support us through PayPal or Cash App, let's see, we have a preview of the class here, and we have information for the African History Network show, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We broadcast on my social media platforms. And we have our audio podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn. It's about 9 different audio podcast platforms, okay? And you can support us also through PayPal and Cash App right here. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN app. Click on the link here, takes you to our Cash App QR code. And I had to create this graphic because some people set up fake African History Network Cash App accounts. So these other ones out here are fake ones. Our tag is $ the AHN show, SHOW. And it may show my picture when you go to it also. But we have, click here on the link. We have the actual QR code. And this is our, you can support us through PayPal also.